I've been ruminating a lot on a sermon that a faith leader in my district gave not that long ago. And the sermon talked about moment, movement, and momentum. And I just want to say, it's like very tempting to think that in our righteousness, that we are in a moment that is ushering in a new movement. Now, I don't know how long it takes a pebble to travel from the diaspora, the African diaspora, all the way to Chicago, and then to Boston, and then to DC. That's my life journey. But I'm just telling you that we're actually in the momentum. And what I mean by that is, in the way that we are intentional about bringing our ancestors into spaces, I have got to bring people like Barbara Lee and Maxine Waters. Yes, you know, there is a paradigm shift occurring, but there have been women before us, women of color before us, Black women before us, who shook the table, who called the question, who sought justice, who were the truth tellers, who preserved our democracy, and we are simply honoring and trying to be good stewards of the ground that they laid. And then finally, I would say, we are often characterized as being disruptive. Now, if we were in Silicon Valley, we would be called innovators. So, yes, yeah, we are disruptors, we are innovators, and contrary to the opinion of many, we are actually patriots. Because dissent is the ultimate patriotism. We need more folk to be intentional and inclusive in our movement building and our coalition building and the breaking down of silos, and of challenging folk to have equitable outrage. So I need people to understand the link between the humanitarian crisis at the border and babies being ripped from their mother's arms, and what happened in my household and millions of American households when my father was in and out of the criminal legal system for 14 years for being an addict. So I'm for the preservation of family from the border, and as I would say in my district, all the way to Blue Hill Avenue. It's not a competition. There is no hierarchy of herd. If you are aghast at the crisis of human trafficking globally, then don't look at what's happening in your own backyard and see that as a blight and affecting your property values, and not understand the brokenness and not see those folks as your neighbors. If you are concerned about human rights violations and abuses and what is happening to women, and rape being used as a tool of war and oppression, please pay attention to what is happening right here. If you are concerned about the violation, the undermining of women's rights globally, then pay attention to what's happening with Hyde and the gag rule and the Roe Act and in our courts and abortion. And so our freedoms and our destinies are tied, and what we need to get to is stop what Ilhan and I have often referred to as like the oppression Olympics. You know, this is not a competition, you know, for who is sinking the fastest. There is no hierarchy of herd. And so what I'm looking for is equitable outrage, inclusive organizing, and our collective upliftment.